everyone, and welcome back to On That Note podcast. My name is Chad Reed, and we are so glad that you are here today. We have a fantastic episode on the way. We have one of our favorites here at New Level. But before we get to him, I want to bring in my podcasting partner, Miss Molly Montague.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast.
How are you, Molly?
I'm good. How are you, Chad?
I'm wonderful.
That's awesome. We have a fun one today. We've been talking about him in previous podcasts. He is a Navarro Cheer Alumni, a New Level Music veteran producer, the athletic director at Spirit of Texas, and somehow has a personal life as well. Not sure how that happens. Teighlyr Sullivan. How are you, Teighlyr?
Hey, I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, no problem.
This is going to be fun. So we're starting this podcast. It'll probably air in a couple weeks, but we're starting it right after the Netflix series Cheer about Navarro's 2019 trip to nationals. And Teighlyr, being Navarro alumni, we thought that would be a fun topic to talk about.
Oh yeah, I binge watched the entire series yesterday in one straight sitting, so I'm all up to date. I'm ready to go.
All of them?
Well, yeah, it was all 6 episodes, so knocked it out in about 6
Nice.
hours. So it was good. It was actually
Yeah,
really
they're
good.
all an hour long. That's a lot
Yeah.
to watch in one day.
To be honest, I was sitting here doing edits at my machine, and I was watching the series on my laptop, and I just kept panning over. So didn't miss a second, though. It was all great. They did a really, really good job.
Did it capture like pretty much what your experience was there as well?
Oh, my experience was identical. Everyone's like, no,
Really?
it can't really be like that. Like, I'm sure that it wasn't like that. I'm sure the city's not like that. I'm sure the team isn't like that. I'm sure Monica isn't like that. And I'm like, oh no, that's it. Like, that is everything that encapsulates Navarro College, Corsicana, Texas, the struggle of doing, all-star and college. And then, the backgrounds on our team were a little different as well. And then, you have people from all over the country. You have people who have, family history, who have problems history, whatever the case may be. I mean, it's pretty much like that every season. I mean, it's a really good melting pot to kind of get into, and you get to meet a lot of new people. And I mean, that's actually at Navarro is where I met Brad Vaughn, who's now my boss at Spirit of Texas. At Navarro, I met a lot of my best friends, and I work with some of them still now. Some of the people that are in that documentary cheer for me at Spirit. They've cheered for me at Spirit in the past. I competed against them. I mean, it's all a family. I mean, it's the college cheer dynamic and the all-star cheer dynamic started to melt together about 10 years ago. So it was really interesting to see it through the editor's perspective and through Last Chance U's perspective. And, you also had people going in and out, like Billy Smith, Brad Habermal, the creator of that book and everything. And so it was really interesting to see all of their takes on it. But the way they portrayed my experience at Navarro College and their experience at Navarro College was identical. So
That's awesome. I was talking to Chad before we got you on, and I was telling him, I've only watched like the first couple episodes, but I was telling him how they really portrayed cheerleading in the actual sense. They make it a point to say that it's not like sideline cheerleading, how tough these athletes are. And I feel like that's something that like mainstream media is missing when it comes to cheerleading.
Oh, I mean, it's hard. And that hard floor is hard. Like if you've been doing All-Star for a very long time and you haven't done like high school or been getting ready for college yet, start immediately because it takes a long time to get used to. Luckily, I'm ancient, and so I cheered when hard floor was the only option. And then I started doing All-Star when the first year of spring floor. And so before that, I had just done hard floor tumbling. And so I was more used to it. But
I can't imagine having to tumble on a hard floor like that.
yeah, I mean, it's intense. I mean, and then the documentary, it showed their finals performance on the band shell, but the prelims performance is in a building called the Ocean Center, and that is where the dead mat is just on a layer of the world's thickest, hardest concrete, and that is intense. So that's hard. Actually, my first year, no, pause. My second year on Navarro, in our prelims performance, we had an injury in the Ocean Center. And so that night we had to go fix everything and then go out to finals. And I was actually on the first team that lost at a long time in 2007 and 8. So that was great.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And then after that, they like really picked up steam and like became, I guess, the legendary whatever they are now. And I always like to say that, our loss really fueled the fire for the years to come. So
you built the foundation.
Yeah. Yes. So my freshman year we won. It was a back-to-back, and it was the school's 5th title, and that was in 2007. And then in 2008 we lost, and then since then, now they're on 14. So it's been great seeing them build that up. So, and I love Lisa Monica.
Oh gosh, I've only worked with her like in the business sense. She orders music through us. She gets music with Patrick, obviously, and I've worked with her that way. But she's always like on her P's and Q's. She always has everything ready to go before we even ask her for it. She's so great to work with, and she's just super sweet.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, she is. She's super sweet to us.
Well, that's good. That's good. Yeah, no, I give her a lot of credit for the person I am today. When you leave your like hometown and you move there, it's like you get that chance to start over and like decide like, am I going to be the person I was, or am I going to like try and be a better person or a different person, or, live your life the way you want to live your life. And that was my case. And so it was really good, like having someone at the school that was like super strict, super organized. I mean, like there's still days like I'll not want to do something, or like I'll be like running late to something, and I'll literally be like, oh my God, Monica would make me run. And I'm like in my 30s, and I still like will text her and be like, oh my God, so I didn't want to do this. And then I was like, Monica would kill me, so I had to do it. So I mean, I can like still hear her voice. Like I still talk to her all the time. And a lot of us are like that. Like I'm still like in a group text from people from both my years. So it's never ending in a good way. So I love that.
That's cool. It's like y'all have established like a fraternity, an exclusive fraternity in Navarro Cheer. Because a lot of people on the documentary were talking about that, how they think of Monica as like a second mom, and how they just don't want to disappoint her. And it takes a really special person to have kids for a year or 2 years and establish that kind of a relationship with them.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's been people that like have been like, I don't want to cheer anyone else, and they get like depressed because it's like, you're not going to have that person in your life again as your coach, but she'll always be that person in your life. Like I'll still go down to Corsicana. I'll still go to Daytona, and I'll see her and I'll grab her and we'll go get mint chocolate chip ice cream because that's her favorite. Side note, if you want to know what to get Monica when you see her in Daytona this year, just go ask her if she wants a scoop of mint chocolate chip. So there's your bonus information if you're listening to this podcast. But we'll just sit down, and I mean, it's like I'm still her kid. Because even back then, all I would do is cut up with her. I mean, I would just go sit down next to her and just say stuff in her ear, and she would just go, get away from me. And, so it was always a fun time though. She's great.
I love that. That's awesome. Something else I thought was super interesting on the episodes I've watched so far is that all the cheerleaders are required to learn the history of the cheer teams before them.
Yeah, and that's I'm really lucky that I cheered there so long ago. There wasn't as much to know.
You are the history. You're the old bag that they're learning about.
Yeah, that's one of the questions. You'll get them all the time. You like they'll show them on the thing. It's like, name the 2000 team, and it's like bam, bam. You got to rattle them off. And so they did show that part, and that's like a brief insight to our cheer family, because like you said earlier, there's fraternities, sororities, all that, and cheerleading is its own way. And a lot of people ask, like, it's in everyone's music. Like Navarro has are what we call letters in our music, FIOFMU. You know, TVCC has their letters. You know, SFA has their letters. That's literally about as much information about anything that I'm going to divulge or willing to. And so that's what we have for ourselves. Because a lot of these kids, they can't rush. You don't have time. So this is your family. This is your sorority. This is your fraternity. These are the people that you're going to spend every single day with. This is your lifestyle. This is what you chose to do. You tried out for this. You did this to yourself. Whenever anyone would complain, I'd be like, y'all, you did this to yourself. If you don't want to do it, just like Justin, I'm like, there's the door. I mean, get out. You don't want to do it? Like, bye. So it definitely becomes that mentality when you're doing this because, as you go through this series, you see the tension start to rise, the tension starts to build, it starts to become stressful, and, just like any other family, you're going to fight and argue with your brothers and sisters to the day you die, but at the end of the day, blood is thicker than water, and so, these are your ride or dies, these are your people, whether you like it or not, so that's what you get, and if you finish a series, you'll kind of see, like, the trials and tribulations that a cheer team goes through. And it's not just them. I mean, it's the same story for pretty much any team. I think that that's something that a lot of teams are going to see in this is everyone says, cheerleading sometimes gets a bad rap, but I think that, the good and the bad of this series, the injuries, the hardships, the joy, the success, all of that. I mean, it's indicative of many, many, many seasons for a lot of programs. Probably a lot of people listening to this podcast right now, a lot of people who, use New Level Music or other producers, like they've had seasons like this. I'll get requests mid-season. It's like, hey, this, that, or the other happened to our team. Last season, I did music for Premier Athletics Rouge, and, they lost an athlete at a competition weekend.
Yeah.
And, that's severe. I mean, I coach, and I could not imagine. I say it all the time. Like, I've been fortunate enough that a current athlete that I've worked with has never, passed. But a lot of the programs and a lot of people are not as fortunate. They've had athletes that, get severely injured, sometimes pass away mid-season, or their family members. I mean, we create these small families wherever we're cheering at, all-star, college, anything. And, these people become a part of you, whether it be within your program, on your specific team. And I think that the cheer documentary by Last Chance U, I mean, they were able to portray a lot of emotions and a lot of feelings and a lot of incidences that happen on a day-to-day basis across the country in our sport. Because it's hard. I mean, there's a lot of things, and like they say, you could be blinking 1 second and you look up and your flyer's not there anymore. Something happened. What are you going to do? I mean, you're tumbling, something happens. What are you going to do? Like, how are you going to build up and like rise from that? Like, what are you going to do for your team or for yourself to rise from a negative situation? Whether it be that's how you got on the team you're on, or it may happen on your season. So I think that the thing I like the most about the show is that, they don't hold back. They don't like try and sugarcoat it and make it seem like everything's super easy and all right. Like, it's truly a really, really good representation of what a lot of us see and a lot of us feel in our seasons. So I definitely shed and shared every single emotion the entire series. So it was really intense.
Cheer creates a special bond that I feel is not in every sport. Like, it's definitely very, very unique. Like you just said, because you can look up and your flyer's not there anymore. You have a different flyer, and you've been working with that group all year long, whether it's a stunt group or pyramid or whatever. And you don't get that in football or basketball. Like, it's more individualized in a certain way. It's that bond that is created no matter what age level that you start cheering on. You carry that out through the rest of your life. I mean, I've got friends that, I met Patrick at FAU. We cheered together in 2000 at FAU, and, I'm still working with him with New Level, and I still talk to my very close friends from that year too. I mean, you nailed it when you said it. College cheer is its own fraternity and sorority. And that's exactly what it is.
I could not agree more.
So you came in, I think it was the year after I did, correct, Teighlyr? Like you were the second group that came in?
Yes, I was. I believe that the company was like founded, like it was set, and then the second season of New Level, Patrick contacted me. I had ordered vocals from him and stuff, and like I actually started. New Level used to do like a traveling workshop, and so like Patrick would go like city to city with Eric Sark, and they would set up like little hotel room conferences, and they would just train us. And the program we were currently using at the time, which was Acid Pro 6.0.
Throwback.
That is throwback. Yeah, that is no longer with us. And so we would just do like little mini projects. And so he'd be like, here's some content, like what would you do with this? And people would do it, and he was like, well, actually you can do this and this and this. And we were like, oh, that's cool. And so I did that for a season, and then after the second season of that summer workshop, he contacted me about a month after, and he was just like, hey, just wanted to reach out and offer you a business opportunity with New Level Music, and add you to our roster. And I had a ton of questions, and we just went back and forth via email. That's actually, I think, when I first met Molly was via email, just kind of setting up stuff like that and just discussing everything. And then when everything was said and done, that's when I kind of started meeting Chad via email, and we just kind of started building a little connection. And then I went and flew to Atlanta for our, yearly training. And I've been with the company ever since.
Where was that first year of training? I can't remember.
That first year of training was in Patrick's house because we were a smaller company back then. We didn't have as many producers as we do now. Now we have to, rent out hotels so that everyone could be a part of it. But it was a small little group, and we just kind of met and did the same thing we did in training with just like a little more, advanced technique, options, just kind of doing things not the way Patrick does it, but technically trying to figure out, the tricks of the trade and everything like that. Because my favorite part, and like this was what my concern was with joining New Level Music, is like I didn't want to become like a mindless drone just cranking out material that all sounds the same. And he was like, no, the opposite. He goes, the reason I selected you to be on the team is because you have a sound that, at the time I was the first one with that sound within the company. Drag queen, club, EDM style, like all that stuff is like my go-to. That's what I prefer. That's, how I prefer to do my music. And so he was like, that's going to really round out the team because, he has his style, Andy had his style, Chad had his style, and everyone sounded a little different. And so that's kind of what booked the gig. And so after that, he would just tell me like ways, like, if you want to make this sound better, do this, but still keep it within your style. Like arrange your stuff to where it's like this, but keep it the way it's like. His goal is for every single one of us to, put out quality mixes and do the best that we can. But when someone presses play in a venue, it should sound like, oh, well, Teighlyr did that mix. Or with the future producers, like Eric did that mix, Alex, Sarah, Blake, like everyone that's a part of the company, like they need to be able to sound like that. And everyone should be like, oh yeah, that's my producer. Like my producer did that mix too, because it sounds like that, because I know what my producer sounds like. And so everyone should have their own unique identity. I mean, if you go outside of our company, I mean, everyone still has their own identity. Like I'm friends with a lot of other producers, not in New Level Music as well. And when I hear their mixes, I still know it's them right off the bat. I mean, if you can't figure it out in the first 5, 6, 7, 8, then it's not necessarily on brand. And I feel like all of us want to be really well branded. Like if you see, a fashion line, you would want to be like, oh, that's that person. If you hear a song by, a mainstream artist, you'd be like, oh, that's on their brand. Because when people do things super off brand, usually it's not that much of a hit because it's not really fitting to them. And everyone's like, well, why'd he try that? Why'd she try that? So I was afraid I was going to get lost in the mix and trying to do stuff like note, if you're trying to book some like really hardcore rock stuff, I'm not the one. I would love the opportunity. I can give it all I got, but you'll probably get it and be like, I mean, yeah, it's on theme, but it's really not on brand. And I'll look at you and I'll say, because that's not my brand. So I think that's something really important for everyone in general. I mean, if you are booking with New Level Music, I mean, we offer samples of any of our artists so you can kind of get to hear us and get to meet us and get to know us, because there's a perfect brand and a perfect style for every producer at every price point for every program. But you just kind of have to ask the questions and be like, hey, listen, like, what do you think you're really good at? And we can give you that. We do offer variety of style. We'll mix up the theme. We'll do whatever it takes. But at the end of the day, I mean, everyone has their brand. I'm sure all of you that cheer for a program, your program has a brand. You know, you have a way of doing things at your gym, on your high school team, on your middle school team, at your college team, wherever you're at. I mean, we all represent ourselves a specific way within our job set or within, you know, the place you work and everything. So I think that theme and tone is really important when doing stuff like that. And so that's why I decided to stay with New Level, because he told me I could keep my identity, and that was really important to me.
You know, I want to touch on that a little bit because, which I agree. I mean, you have your own brand, and it definitely works for you. That's why you're one of the top producers that we have. You know, being on brand is so important, but from a artistic standpoint, we do try to recreate ourselves a little bit each year. But you got to find that fine line between not going too far. Like,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like you said, you don't want to stay the same. You don't want to be in a rut and just, oh yeah, that's Chad's mix, that's Teihlyr's mix. You'll be like, hey, that's different. I like that. Like, you can't change drastically, but you got to recreate yourself each year. And I think that's one of the things I think helped us out with training this past year, was the fact that we all kind of worked together on the same kind of mixes that we were working on, but we all gave input, because I would come to you and be like, hey, how do I fix this? And then you would help me, and then Sarah would help me on a different part. And it was kind of just more of a collaboration to help me recreate my own personal sound. And I really liked that part of it.
Yeah, that was actually really cool. So I had fun too, because like I was sitting next to Eric, but like Eric and I are kind of similar. So I was like, Blake, come over here and, you know, I'll lay this part out, but I really want you to like work on the underbelly of it and like make it sound different while using similar content. And then I'd like go over to Bo and be like, but like, I really like the way you did this. So like, let's work on making my style and my sound, but emulating kind of like the way you created something. And that's where you get those moments of creativity. I mean, that's where you get that, you know, because yeah, if I did the same exact thing I've been doing since my first year here, you know, with no growth, that's not good for anyone, myself, my clients, anything.
Right.
So, you know, in order to, you know, keep the clients happy and everything, I mean, a lot of times clients will be like, hey, listen, I love what you do, but I really need you to do something more like this. Or like, you know, I really want this moment here. I really want that. And I mean, if I have any questions, I'll just call up the family. I'm like, hey, like, they really want this style and this sound. And I know that's kind of something that you're really great at. So like, kind of help me through that process. And, you know, so that's really helped me like take my sound to the next level and like really, really do something different. But at the end of the day, you still know it's me. Like, you still know it's my mix, but it's like, oh, well, that's kind of cool how he did that. Or like how like, yeah, I have included like more rock songs, less just pop and club, and like more rock and more like old school stuff or more hip hop stuff, because I think that it's important to do that. But I'm going to pick the content that's still close to my brand. So it's not going to be like way off base. It's going to be something that is still a different style, a different vibe, a different feel, but still fits in with the family of the other content I have, with the brand that I have, and like kind of how I want to represent myself. Because I mean, I've been doing this for a long time. I still coach. I cheered for a very long time into like the last year almost of my 20s, taking it to the very end. So I like to feel like I would know what I would want to cheer to. And I would want to know what I want the teams I coach to sound like. And so I think it's really important that like, if I send out a mix if I don't feel like I could get hype and cheer to it, whether it's mini 1 or large open co-ed 6, like I'm not going to hit send. Like if I can't get into it, I'm not going to do it. Like I'm not going to send it because I know you're not going to and you're not going to be happy. And so whenever I have clients
Right.
that, they want something different, they want a different style, even if it's out of my comfort zone, that's when I get more on the customer service side. I'm like, can you hop on a call? Can you email me about this? Like, I want to make sure that, we're meeting at a really, really solid ground to where it's like, if you have this like super wacky theme, which sometimes end up being the best, because, you definitely have to think and pull and strive to be a little more different. But that's, I'll call and be like, so what do you mean by this? And they're like, oh, well, that means I want this, this, and that. And I'm like, well, normally I do this, this, and that. And they're like, okay, well, what if like we kind of met in the middle and you do a little bit of this and then pull this through to the next section? And I'm like, that sounds great. Let's do that. Because, I mean, it takes all of us together to make it work. It's super, super difficult for us, to just kind of read a sheet of paper and assume we know exactly what you want. That's why I always, as soon as I get a booking, I send out an email to my client. I'm like, hey, thanks for booking for the first year. Thanks for coming back, whatever it may be. My name is Teighlyr. If I haven't met you yet, if I've worked with you before, let me know. Like right now, it may be the middle of summer, but what are your thoughts? What's kind of driving you? Like what happened last year? What's going to happen this year? Like let's start getting the ball rolling so that we can really, really make something productive happen immediately. And it kind of like, because I'm just as guilty of a coach to music producers with this inside new level. Like they'll be like, hey, what do you want? And I'm like, ooh, can I get back to you in a week? And then it's a month later and I still haven't told Eric what I want for our junior 2. I mean, it is what it is. And he'll get on to me and I'll be like, oh my God, I'm that person. And so the line of communication is just so super important because if I was to walk into a store and be like, I want pants, they'd be like, well, what kind of pants? I'd be like, pants, to wear. And they're like, well, I mean, do you want denim? Do you want khakis? Do you want dress pants? I'm like, oh, wait, what? And then you have to have that communication because, like, if you want the product that you want, you have to be willing to say, like, oh, no, I want that exact pair right there that has this on the side, that the buttons look like this, that feels like this, that stretches like this, whatever the case may be for that style, that identity you want. It's no different with your cheerleading mix, except this cheerleading mix is going to be on repeat and you're going to hear it 10,000 times. So you must really, really, really want to like it because you have to listen to it a lot. I mean, it is going to and it sets the tone for your team, your season. I mean, like it's what you're going to associate. I can hear a mix from years past of a team I coached, cheered for, whatever, or even just a mix I did and I had a close program tie and I know what it was. And I'm like, that happened this year and this happened that year. And like, as soon as I hear a mix, like it brings me back because it's a soundtrack to your season. So if you want it to be the way you want it to be, then the line of communication is super, super important. And as much as I love the good old, I trust you, you got this, that's great and all. And I love that. And I love the confidence that you have in me as a producer or any other producer. But give a little more so that they can do exactly what you want. Because, I mean, that's a service you're paying for. You're not just paying for a mix. You're paying for a service. You should feel like you have full control and you should be able to talk to them. And, we may say, like, I see your vision, but that may not be the best for that section. Let's talk about it and keep moving. And you can really start to create something together that's going to feel just as much as your team and your gym and your program as it is our service and our brand and our style. And I think that's what creates the mixes that everyone is always talking about. Luckily, I've had the most amazing set of clients this season. I've not had any rebuttaling, no pushback. They've liked what I've done. I've loved their communication with me. I feel like the clients that I've had for years and years, our communication is just getting better with each other. All my first year clients came in super eager, super excited, and like they gave me inspiration for their mixes in ways that I never would have thought to create their mix that way. And so I've been really blessed with a really good season so far. Even in terms of like edits, like shout out to Trail Athletics Pittsburgh. They're like, hey, we're going to have edits in about a month, and I'm letting you know right now. And so when I start submitting these, I'm going to let you know. And I got them, and I was like, okay, let's do it. I got the list. I emailed the program owner. She was like, okay, this is what I need in this order. Let's go. And the next day, it was like, bam, 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 cranking them out. But they let me know in advance, like, these are going to be the changes we're making. And so it was really, really easy for us to make those changes happen. And when I sat down to do the edits, I mean, it went by probably 2 to 3 times faster than it normally would, because the expectation was set of when I was going to have it, when they needed it, and what teams it was going to be, and what was going to need to happen to those mixes. I mean, it made it so easy. And so to me, I think that the line of communication between a producer and a client is probably more valuable than anything else. Yeah. Because, like, I don't know if you want a lot of male rappers, a lot of female rappers, if you want, that drag style, if you want this, unless you tell me. Because I don't want to send you a mix that's like super fun and girly and like, pop princess style. And then you're like, oh no, we're not like that. We're more like grungy and like bam, bam, bad girl. Let's give it to them. And I'm like, there was no indication of that. There was no knowledge of that. Like no one here knows your kids as well as you do. No one here knows your program as well as you do. So conveying your program and conveying your brand to us, that's your responsibility. And I would love to be on that journey with you and your program and with your kids. So please, like, include me. Like, some of these like programs will email me and like they'll be like, well, this is what this is, and we don't tell anyone else, but this is what these letters mean for our team, and like we think it's so cool. And I'm like, I love that, and I can work ways in them with that linguistically that I'm not jeopardizing, the secrecy of your brand or whatever. But like at the same time, like if I get it, I can make your kids get it, and I can make your program look the way your program wants to look and sound the way they want to sound. When they're on the floor, like if you want that moment, if you want that whatever, if you want your kids to be able to yell something when they hit a structure or hit a pyramid, like that's all information that I need from you. And then, maybe I'll have my own creativity and I'll put it in there. And then I've had people be like, oh, you said this one line right here, and this girl was like everything in it, and she came up and she made her own 8-count of choreography to it because she was feeling herself. And I'm like, you know what? I love that. I would love a video clip of it. Send it to me right now. Because it's a two-way street. So if you want your brand to be represented the way you want it to be, let us know. And then, of course, we're going to put our own flair with it, and we're going to make our own style with it. And hopefully we inspire you to choreograph something different. We inspire you to make something bigger or stronger or something happen here. So
I love that. And I love how in tune you are with the industry in general, which comes a lot from you working in the industry still, like you said. So what exactly is, like, tell everyone your role at Spirit of Texas and what all you do there.
Okay, so I've kind of taken over as the All-Star Director for Spirit of Texas, which means I send and receive a lot of emails. No, so like I'm in charge of like, Brad and Brett are still the owners of Spirit of Texas, and so we all work together and just like making sure the teams are set and right, and then from there, just keeping an open line of communication with my staff on every team, because I don't have the opportunity or the time to coach every single team. And so the teams that I do coach and have a hands-on role with, I'm more accessible to those sets of parents. But, a lot of times all the other teams, they need access to me as well. And so I'll pop into their practices. I'll be like a liaison to their parents. I'll sit in on meetings. So like, we're able to actually kind of all unify and work together, because just like with any program or any gym or any team, when growth happens, you need to be able to manage everything properly still. And it's a lot for one person to handle, for two people to handle. And so, adding me to that. And then I also always try and make everything so open and honest in the program. And so like, I'll be like, listen, the structure of every team needs to be extremely similar when it comes to how we handle procedures and how we handle, confrontation, how we handle things changing and everything. And the line of communication in your gym needs to be just as open. So, it is time consuming, but again, it also allows me to see a lot of variables that I normally wouldn't be able to see. And every bit of adversity is going to make you stronger. So as I start to see like repeating habits happening within certain teams, like you can put an end to it faster because you're like, this is going to become a widespread issue if we don't fix it right now. And so it kind of allows me to see more outside of my own box. Cause, like I only coach, 5 or 6 teams at a time, and there's more than that in the program. And so if I wasn't able to kind of like take on this role, you know, Brad and Brett also have their own stuff that they need to do. Like Brad does all the choreography for all of our teams. And then we have people come in and like they'll work stunts, they'll do dances, and stuff like that. But like he needs to focus on that. And then, you know, the prep team approaches, then he needs to focus on that. And then he'll also like coach some of the teams or like float, or like if something needs to be modified or changed, like that's what he needs to focus on. Brett does a lot of our school stuff and a lot of our tumbling staff. And he's also super active with the USASF. And then on top of that, he also coaches royalty. He works with our junior 6 team. And he does like stuff within our program otherwise too. You know, he has a lot going on. And so I'll do this, and then I'll also like the staff that we have is great, and we'll just kind of assign like what we need to be doing and like making sure that everything's on par. And so it's just really important to us to make sure that, you know, every single kid and every single team gets the same kind of experience. So like everyone's like feels like they're still in brand, because, you know, you're going from a level 1 team to a level 6 team, and every single one of those kids needs to feel like I cheered for Spirit of Texas and I got the same opportunity, the same brand recognition, the same lifestyle, the same culture. And so I just kind of help facilitate that. But luckily the staff that we have makes my job very easy. And so that's why I'm able to still come home and do music for New Level.
Well, that was going to be my question is there's only 24 hours in a day, and let's assume you get 6 hours sleep at night.
Teighlyr gets
is that a good day?
maybe an hour.
I would love for you to assume that, and I'd love for that to be true. No, not quite. So I have a modified block sleeping schedule. Let's put it that way. I feel like I'm in school or something. So I find it easier for me to work through the night where there's no distractions. And so, you know, I'll work, I'll come home, I'll have dinner with my boyfriend, we'll talk, he'll go to bed, and I'll work through the night. And then about around 5 or 6 in the morning, I'll kind of go to sleep, and then I'll wake up 9 or 10ish, and then I'll start music, and then that's when I'll start also fielding emails, making sure the staff's checked in for the day, go coach teams, come back, repeat. So I'm still sleeping. It's just not when everyone else is sleeping, but that's planned for me because I can't do the quality of music I want to do if I'm also being a customer service agent, if I'm also doing this, if I'm also doing that. And that was my biggest hook with New Level Music, is I was like, wait, I get a girl named Molly and she's going to do all this stuff for me. And then it was like, Des is going to do all this stuff for me. I was like, this is perfect. So they're able to, you know, get your bookings done, get your this and that done, like talk to you about all that stuff, because that kind of stuff is what slows the creative process down. If I was in the middle of a mix and I'm fielding calls about, you know, deadlines, payments, this, that, division changes in real time, it would be really distracting and really time consuming. Like imagine you're coaching and you have parents coming up to you and tugging at your sleeves, like asking for this, that, and the other. You know, you're really trying to get focused. You only get 2 hours with that team and you have to make them the best you can. So you need that 2 hours. So for me, that modified sleeping schedule is what allows me to do that. So because I'm not going to respond to a customer service question from my gym or from a person between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. because they are sleeping. Although I will say most of the All-Star coaches are probably up till 1 a.m. with me. And I have gotten some texts in the middle of the night and I will respond to them. But for the most part, that's my me time for my music. And this is the first year I've kind of done that. And it was really helpful. And everyone's like, I can't believe you're doing this. And I'm like, well, if you just shift the whole day back 6 hours, it's about equivalent. I know a lot of the All-Star staff that I'm listening to this, or even high school coaches or anything. I mean, you're sleeping from 1 to 7, 1 to 8, 2 to 8, whatever the case may be. I'm just delayed. I'm just doing it at a different time block. But yeah, so we all get our rest and we all stay as healthy as possible. Luckily, the brunt of the season is about 3.5 months long of when it's like super, super tough. And then, the other 8.5 to 9 months, it's maintenance, edits, a few mixes here and there. And so you just kind of prepare for it. It's like you're preparing for the Armageddon or something happening. It's like, I'm going to go to the store. I'm going to get 8 cases of water. I'm going to get all this stuff, and I'm going to hunker down in the bunker and let's get to mixing. I mean, it's just kind of become an expectation. But at the same time, like, it's grueling, it's challenging, but I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't want to lose a client because I couldn't do it. These clients that I have, there's some people that I've been working with for like 6+ years now. It's like, I'm not going to say no. If your program's successful and you're getting more teams and you're wanting more teams booked with me, I'm not going to say boo on you for being successful and growing. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do the best that I can to accommodate you and make sure that you can, get what you need done, because I still want to be a part of that journey with you. Like, I don't want to say no to anyone who wants to try something different. So I'll say yes and we'll get it done. And I'll have a little more caffeine the next day, and then we'll just keep it cranking.
That's one of the things that I can say about pretty much all of our producers is no matter how busy we are, no matter how booked our schedule is, we won't turn anybody away. I mean, we want the business. We want to work with everybody that we can, because we want to be a part of your season, and it brings us joy in that. Fact.
Yeah, and on the office side, Des and I kind of know that you guys aren't going to say no, so we're like, we'll pencil talking to clients. We'll pencil you in on this week. I'll have to run it by the producer, but they'll go with it.
Yeah, that's my favorite. That's a favorite. Hey, I already told them that we're doing this, so we're doing it. I'm like, okay, let's do it. Let's crank it out. But at the same time, it's like, once I get that email, the next thing I do is I'm like, what's their contact info? Text, send an email. I'm like, hey, I heard this is happening, so I really need you now to be open with me and say, this is exactly what I need. Because if we're on a limited time frame, that means that I need more information quicker, and I need to get this thing rolling. So, again, I think to me, like, that's the most important thing is just, if you need something done really fast, I need something done really fast. So it's definitely a blessing to be able to work with the people that we get to work with. And it is challenging, and, there are sleepless nights, but that's going to be any job. I mean, that's if you want to create something and you want to create a brand that you want to be powerful and successful and you want to do well, I mean, you're not going to be getting 10 hours of sleep a night and spending luxurious days every day doing whatever. I mean, you have to dig in, you have to work hard. I mean, we ask the same of our athletes. We ask the same of, our staff members, our coworkers. It's like, I really need you to take another hour-long shift on this Sunday night because this team needs more training. I mean, what are you going to do? Say no and let the team falter? Absolutely not. You're going to take that extra hour and you're going to work with it. And I feel like that's how we are as producers as well. It's like, I do this because I love being a part of someone's story. I don't ever take credit for their story. I don't say that they do a certain way because of my music, but I love, like, hearing an athlete say one of my voiceovers, like walking down the strip of, like, NCA, like, I'll just be, like, walking to the right, they'll be walking to the left, and I'll hear them singing something, and I'm like, that is my mix. Like, that is why I do it. Creating that kind of just, like, pull for an athlete, like, that may be the voiceover that gets them through that standing tumbling pass that's really hard for them. That may be the song that tells a story of their season. I worked with Icon Cheer Envy, and Tabby was great, and we talked a lot last year about what she wanted, and I mean, the pyramid song, the stunt song, like, everything to the T, exactly what she wanted, and she was like, that's it. you did it. I'm like, no, we did it. Because if you didn't tell me that's the story you wanted to tell, who's to say what your music would have sounded like? And so that's why I do it. Like my drive is like, I want these kids to be hype, and I want these kids to tell their story, and I want these kids to have music that when they go out there, they're like, I'm not losing. I'm going to be successful. You may not win, you may not get first, but if you feel like a winner and you created your own success on that mat because, you know, you did your absolute best, you hit your zero, you didn't have any fear, worry, or doubt in your head, and you like did it. Like, I wish the best for everyone. You may be my direct competitor. You know how many times one of the teams I've coached has lost to a team that I did music for, and my kids look at me like, did you do that music? And I'm like, okay, we're not going to talk about that. Let's go over here, you know? But to me, it's like, if they're the best that day, they're the best that day. And so
yeah,
I've been blessed to be a part of a lot of team stories. Sometimes they're against me, sometimes they're not. But, you know, I don't let that affect my job. I don't let that affect, you know, anything else going on. But again, it's because like those coaches and I know each other. We probably cheered with each other. Like I do a lot of work for All-Star Revolution. A lot of them I met through Navarro, you know, I've worked with them for years. You know, we're in a lot of divisions together. Doesn't affect me one bit, doesn't affect them one bit because it's a professional role. I mean, you're asking someone to do a job for you, create a service, do a mix, whatever the case may be. And that's another program that's always on top of it. You know,
they're amazing to work with.
To me, always like ready to go. I mean, and again, it's like working together for so long. It's like we get each other at this point. I mean, sometimes the questions don't even have to be asked. It's like, you know what to do. Like at that point, it's like, let's get the ball rolling. If there's anything special, let me know. But yeah, they're great too. A lot of really strong programs with a lot of years with me. So yeah. That's why I do it.
Well, I do too. And I can honestly say that it has been a pleasure to be one of your partners in this for the past several years. You know, the small things that you do for all of us doesn't go unnoticed. Like I remember earlier in the season when it was just crazy busy for all of us. I pull up my content sheet and there's a little note from Teighlyr saying, "Hey, you're crushing it, man. Keep going hard." And I was just like, you know what? I mean, to take time out of your busy schedule to do that for not just me, but for all of us producers. I mean, that was really cool. So I really appreciated it. And I'm sure everyone else did. So that's just the kind of person that you are. And so, you know, it's been a pleasure and an honor to work alongside.
You know, you loved your note, but
you.
If you had read Sarah's, I don't know that she loved hers as much.
Oh, Sarah. We love to tease Sarah.
Sarah. She's the butt of everyone's jokes. We love her.
She's fine. She
All
takes
right.
it.
Taylor, I think that's a great
Bless
place
her
to
heart.
end. Thank you so much for coming on here with us.
Of course.
We
Thanks for having me.
appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
And thanks, guys, for checking us out. And be on the lookout for the next episode. It'll drop on Sundays at noon. Talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.